Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Glenn H.
What's up, Mr. Mikey?
You know, I'm
Yeah,
doing good.
we can't use our last names, huh?
Well, I did one
Thank
time.
God.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the only time we were ever going to add it, and then we said,
Yeah. Because I think Biden's is not a popular name. So, I mean, most people aren't even going to.
nobody knows that name.
Nobody knows that name. How you doing, man?
And I'm kind of tired.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we get here early, but did you see the full moon?
I did. Actually, that story's too long for...
All right.
That would take up this whole episode. But, yeah, I saw it driving over. I actually took a picture of it. It was super cool.
Yeah, do you believe that that it pulls on the magnetic full and messes with your psyche and your emotions?
I'm not sure if I believe that, but it could.
You know what I believe?
What do you believe?
I believe I love driving in the morning, seeing a full moon, and being able to see the full moon and not having one hand over my eye when I'm driving here.
Craving mornings.
Craving mornings, man.
Hashtag crave morning versus the old days with hashtag curse mornings.
Yeah.
No, it's cool stuff, man. It's all good. Just got a lot going on, and but it's all super positive, and it's positive energy, and
You know what's positive?
love getting in the coffee shop with you.
You know what's positive?
What?
We're sitting here talking like she's not in the room, but we got a table for 3 today.
I know. I'm just wondering how
We're
long
gonna say-
we're going to chit chat.
That's right. I know. I'm so excited. So I got to tell you.
Our sister's back in.
Yeah. So I get the text. Hey, I'm at the coffee shop. Right. So I go to the door to greet our guest, Karen, and she's in her car still, and she's cranking hell's bells. I mean, no, people 4 buildings down. At
That's
the Panera.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love it. You are
You know
a
what?
firecracker,
So your Hell's
man.
Bells?
You said on a previous podcast
Yes,
that
we
you
were
were
gonna-
thinking of changing your theme song to Hell's Bells, so I thought I would
I love
get
it.
in the mood today.
Oh, man.
That's awesome. So every time I come in, I play 40.
46 and 2.
Sure, right? Right.
I will sing a new song. But this morning when I got up, I just needed the extra juice. So I was playing Back in Black and Highway to
No
Hell.
way.
I was. That was my shower music.
Are you like me? Do you pick your cars based on the stereo system?
Absolutely.
Totally.
No doubt about it.
I like getting in the car and I blare the stereo first, and the guy in the showroom's always like, "You want to take it for a ride?" I'm like, "Let's see
Nope.
if we need to. Hold on."
That's right.
It's got to
God,
sound
Karen,
right.
that is absolutely cool.
Right.
You are so cool.
You don't look under the hood. You look
Right.
under the dash.
Yeah, but do you
Right.
remember the old days where you used to put a different stereo in the car? You
Oh,
pull out
Yes.
sure.
and the
You pull it
special
out and-
JBL speakers
Sure.
or Pioneer. That
They'd
was
be in the
brand,
back.
Pioneer
They'd
speakers.
look like big shoe boxes on
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
back dash.
I mean, this guy had the best JVC stereo. Man, we would just drive around, and there was nothing better.
Gas was a quarter. We're old.
Totally, 29 cents a gallon. It was great. It's great. So what are we doing today?
Yeah,
Just chit-chatting?
chit-chatting with Karen. We had Karen. Karen, you joined us in the coffee shop.
Karen
You
rocks.
believe it's almost been 2 years since
I
you've been
was
back
looking
to
at
the
that
coffee
'cause
shop. Isn't it crazy?
I was on a flight recently, and I was looking for some stuff to download. Mm-hmm. And I realized, because I've been so busy, I was several podcasts behind, so I downloaded a bunch. And I'm looking, going, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
Like, it was, yeah.
It's been a while.
And they said it wouldn't last.
So
Yeah,
you
right.
were, probably the first 20.
Yeah,
right?
she helped us with the steps.
Yeah, I
And-
was in the,
and
in the
I
beginning.
remember that.
I'd encourage people to go back. I went back because I'm doing some blog writing for us, and I went back and listened to those episodes. And as a matter of fact, this week there's a blog on, and it was you walking us through step 7, and we really appreciate that. Yeah,
So listen to that again.
yeah, it's
Go
good
check
stuff.
that out.
Check the blog
Go
out.
read it.
All right, so we got I I said to Karen, I said we're gonna get together at the coffee shop, and she goes, "All right, well, what are we gonna talk about?" I go, "I don't know. What do you think we should talk about today?"
I said, owning your shit.
That's what
I
she
love
said.
that.
Well, I had just been at a meeting, and people were talking about how someone made a comment that they were something had happened in their life, and it was because blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I just got a little fired up because as I listen to that person, I'm listening to them talk about how everything in their life is everybody else's problem, and I just got pissed.
Well,
Because-
you would have been pissed at me a lot in my career.
Well, I was just like that.
Yeah, right.
But then after a little while, I was starting to feel sorry for them because they don't get it yet.
Right,
They
right.
don't get personal accountability is the answer. Like
Right.
you can't just keep putting everything on everybody else. I know it's kind of human nature to find fault. As soon as something happens, you see it in the media all the time. Somebody gets hurt, somebody gets shot, somebody gets in an accident, somebody gets, well, how'd that happen? Well, what was he doing out at that time of night? Well why were they even
Well,
there?
right.
Why did they go there? Why wasn't the mother with the kid? You always hear all these, instantly we go to blame. Mm-hmm. That's like a default.
Isn't it terrible?
Instead of looking outward or inward, we look outward for whose fault is it?
Right.
So in the meeting, then, I chose to read page 62,
Page 6. Oh,
my paragraph. I'm going to read it to you.
Yeah, please.
I'll read it to you if that's okay.
Sure.
It says selfishness. I'm sorry. I'm backwards today. It must be that full
what
moon.
page is this?
62.
All right.
It must be the full moon. I actually thought that was that Chinese balloon following me. I was worried.
Okay, that was funny right there.
Yeah,
was
that
funny.
was great.
Selfishness, self-centeredness. That, we think, is the root of our troubles. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. We step on the toes of our fellows, and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation. But we invariably find that at some point in the past, we have made decisions based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot, though he usually doesn't think so. So if you look here in the margin, I like to mark up my book. Mm-hmm. It says, "It's your fault, asshole."
That's
So
awesome.
if you think about it, all of the things that went wrong in my life and all the things that I struggled with and all the problems and relationships and money and jobs and everything else were the result of something that I did at some earlier point in my life. But the opposite of that is true too. So now I don't have those troubles. Now I don't have those kind of relationship problems, and now I don't have job problems, and now I don't have, I have plenty of problems, but now I don't have those same problems because I don't do the things I used to do.
Right.
So the things I do today also give me the results that I get today.
Right.
And
And
if-
shape your the results you're going to get tomorrow.
Exactly. And if people would just realize that if we could just teach them all that you have complete control, if we stop blaming other people and accept the responsibility, then we can take control. Then you can make changes in your life. But for as long, if it was Glenn's fault that I did something, or that I'm in a situation, then only Glenn can fix it. Well, it's not Glenn's job to fix it, and maybe Glenn doesn't want to fix it.
Right.
So
Can't control Glenn.
I don't. Right, I have zero control over Glenn. Therefore, my problem remains my problem because I think it's his. I think it's because of him.
Right. You know, here's the thing I love. I love that you went right to the big book and quoted at page 62. I think that, we're talking about an issue that is part of our sobriety, our path to sobriety is improving yourself, right? I mean, I found that the void that I had that I was looking for before when I was drinking was that I was trying to capture something. I don't even know what I was trying to capture. Now in sobriety, I'm trying to capture being better, feeling better, doing better. And so I absolutely love that.
But only you can do that for you.
Right.
Only you can. You're responsible for your sobriety. You're responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for your finances. You're responsible for your marriage. You're responsible for all of your shit. So
Yeah.
own it.
So through this program that I know called the 12 Steps, and I'm sitting there listening and kind of trying to process it. And one of the things that I realized for my life is there's like external shit and internal shit. And when I say internal, not just what's happening inside, but things that are a result of my behaviors, right? And for, up until the point of surrender, and I worked the steps and I started figuring some of this stuff out, everything else was everybody else's problem, or, I didn't own any of it, right? They were the cause. And then throughout, through the 12 steps and the analysis, step 4, step 5, working with my sponsor on a regular basis, and step 8 and 9, I realized that a majority of my problems were Glenn made. They were because of my self-centeredness. They were because of my ego. They were because of my fears. But if I cataloged 100 major problems that I've had in my life, first of all, about 95 of them are because of alcohol. And then 5 of them were because of self-centeredness and fear and ego. So when I removed the alcohol and started to learn a different way to live, a majority of my problems went away. Now, one thing that, for example, if I had, if I got cancer, right? I don't think I did anything to get cancer. Maybe booze, I don't know, right? But that's a problem that I would have that Glenn didn't necessarily generate, right? Now, I can't blame anybody else for that, unless I'm used a lot of Roundup, right? Mm-hmm. But so that's an external problem that I just need to deal with, and it's just a problem on the list, and I need to deal with. Somewhere along the way, right? And Karen, I'll bounce this to you and get your insight on this. Somewhere along the way, what tools, because I have a very clear understanding today of what I own and what somebody else owns. But I can't put a finger of how that happened. Maybe it was just through the working the 12 steps that transition happened. It's almost like the faith and fact dial, right? How that goes back and forth. The it ain't my fault dial, part of the dial, to I own it, part of the dial. It wasn't a light switch for me. Maybe it was part of the process, but maybe you can shed some light on when and how that process starts to take place. Does that make sense?
Well, you bring up a good point. I'll clarify. With, say, you get sick, or something else happens that's external like that. Every problem doesn't have to have a person or an entity or something responsible for it. Some problems just happen. Maybe you're working for a company and the company closes, goes out of business, you lose your job. It's not their fault. They didn't want to go out of business. Every problem doesn't have to have a blame or someone to blame. But I think it started for me in the first couple years of recovery. And I like that you said a lot of problems just go away when we take away the drink. I stopped fighting with my husband over being out all night and being drunk when I wasn't drunk anymore. When I stayed home where I belonged. So a lot of problems do just go away when you stop drinking. That was amazing to me, by the way. Some stuff just fixed itself. Before I knew it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, we don't even argue anymore.
And think of all the time and energy and mental power that goes into drinking, right?
Oh.
Where am I hiding my shit? Who's going to catch me? What did I say? What did I do? How am I going to get the next bottle? How do I get out of this?
It's exhausting, isn't it?
Gosh.
I think I'm too old to be drinking now. I don't think I could do it again. But I think somewhere along...
I think you are too.
I am. Now that I'm a grandma. It's not a good look for a granny. So I think the first couple years, though, as it was time to start handling some of the issues that I could handle. Like, we were in financial trouble when I got sober. We were going to lose our house. A relative, thank God, stepped in and helped us out. And then I made it my mission to pay that person back early. Not on this plan, but I'm going to shorten that plan and show him how much I appreciate him. Then it was time, okay, it's time for a new house. What do we need to do? And I had to start taking steps and like, oh, wait a minute, when I do this happens. Or when it came time to get ready to go back to work. I wasn't working when I got sober. All right, what do I need to do that? So when I would put my plan in place, all right, I get a resume together, make sure I got some appropriate outfits for interviews, start making the phone calls, start pounding the pavement, start making decisions. When I started doing things and being a part of the solution to my own problems, that's when I started to realize, wait a minute, I think I get it. Like if I am responsible for me, then I can be the solution. So what I learned was that, we always talk about looking in the mirror, the problem's in the mirror, right? The solution's right there too.
Right.
I'm the solution to my problem. I just have to remember to look inward and not out at the next guy. I can't make it someone else's fault as much as I would like to. And we just feel better about ourselves when, because nobody wants to cause a problem, right? And nobody wants to be like, yeah, I did that. Nobody wants to be that way. So I think it's innate. Instantly we're like, well, how'd that happen? What would you do?
Right.
You must have done this.
Right. Well, two things jump out at me. Number one, you said my mantra. It's my life mantra. Look in the mirror. And I say it to other people and it annoys them, but I just say it because that's how I live. I look in the mirror. I love the conversation so far because not everything happens is in our control. Like you said, the company closing down, whatever. But there's a victimhood mindset that people have that I had. Oh my goodness, the company closed down because the managers mismanaged the money. They should have done a better job. Everything was everybody's fault. And I think that's just a mindset that it's an actual thing called a victimhood mindset where you just think all your problems are caused by somebody else. And like you said, it's a terrible way to live. It ate me up inside.
When I am a victim, there are no solutions. When I'm a victim, I sit in my shit. Give you a good example. Long time ago, so maybe, 12 years ago, I worked for a brokerage. And, the brokerage went under. Suddenly, we got zero notice. They said, come to a meeting. This brokerage of our franchise is closing. And it was closing in 6 days. So I had 6 days to get 10 years of files out of my office, to move my furniture out of my office, and to find a new brokerage to work. And instantly, everybody was like, this is ridiculous. How'd this happen? What did he do? We've been paying our bills. And when is it?
Meanwhile, you're packing.
So I had a business coach at the time. And I call him up and I say, what do I do? He said, what are your options? I said, well, I can go to any company I want, or if I want to stay with this brand and I want to stay in this town, this is the only option. He said, then take your license over there, sign it, and get back to work. So while everyone else is interviewing with 7, 8, 9 companies.
That is such a key.
And the companies are all like throwing these, like within 48 hours, they're putting together these elaborate cocktail parties to wine and dine us. And in a matter of days, everybody's life is in an uproar. And I'm just packing and calling my clients, telling them what's going on.
Yep.
And it was a huge traumatic event, and I didn't realize it until like a year and a half later, because all of my deals that were under contract, I never got paid on. So once I realized the financial implications of it all. So it was a huge problem for me, because it was the time of year where I make probably half of my income for the year in that quarter. So it was a problem for me. But other people were still wallowing and not rebuilding.
They weren't looking for the solution.
Right. They're still complaining and bitching about how they got screwed in the deal. And yes, it was a problem for me. It affected me tremendously. Right. However, I didn't cause the problem. The only way I can fix the problem is by getting back to work.
Owning your own shit.
If I want to make more money, this is what I need to do to solve my problem. So it doesn't matter who caused the problem. The fact is, it's my problem now. So only I can do something about it.
Right, love it.
And people still talk about, oh yeah, I lost $50,000 in that deal. Oh yeah, I lost $20,000. Oh yeah, I lost $6,000. Oh yeah. When I look back on that, I didn't spend the next 6 months wallowing and bitching every time I saw somebody and had the opportunity to talk about it.
Right.
I just said, well, I'm doing. At that time there were people losing pensions. There were companies closing for people that, if your company closed and you're in, say, I don't know, IT or something, you lost your job. I didn't lose my job. I lost the brokerage that held my license.
Right.
There's one on every street corner.
Right.
I'm still licensed to do what I do.
Right.
So I'm the solution.
Right.
And we don't see that. We're always, if I'm looking at the cause or the blame, looking to place the blame, and I'm the victim,
You're not.
I'm wallowing in it, and I can't.
You're not in motion to fix it.
Right. I'm sitting right there, and I'm stuck in it, and I'm sitting in my shit. But, we like to sit in our shit sometimes because it's warm, and it's comfortable, and it's easier to blame you than to get off my ass and do something.
Right. So one thing I'd like to point out about owning your shit, it's actually, and I've underlined this here, it's actually a superpower, I think, because the world in general doesn't own their shit. The world loves to pass it off, So when, and I've seen this, and I'm working with my kids, and I'm kind of, coaching them, because they get themselves in situations, and the first thing, because of fear and what's the consequences and what's going to happen with this and that, the first thing I've been coaching them, I'm like, hey, stand up and own it. And that's a superpower, right? And I'm telling you, the world, 98% of the world doesn't live that way. So when you do it, when you stand up and you say, yeah, I did that, I apologize, let me work to fix it, it diffuses the entire situation. And many times the other people, the injured parties or the offended parties or whatever, they look surprised. And in their mind, they're all geared up for consequences. They're all geared up to next steps, and I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do this to you, because the whole world is programmed defensive, right? And when you stand up, and I do this in business meetings, and I watch people's faces, right? Everybody hides for the hills. Nobody wants to own their shit, and everybody's trying to blame everybody else. So when I stand up and say, that's on me, I made that decision, here's why I made it, obviously it didn't work out how I thought, let's make an adjustment and let's figure out how to fix it.
Exactly.
Nobody else in the room knows what to do.
No, it completely...
It's a superpower.
It blows people's minds when you
does.
own it.
I watch shock on people's faces like...
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
One thing I've learned in my business life is that I never pass the buck, and I never bullshit a client. So if I say I'm going to do something, first of all, 99% of the time I do it on time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get busy and something falls through the cracks. And I'll call the client, or they'll ask for it, and I'll say, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I have no excuse for that. I got busy and I forgot to do that. I said I would do it. Let me do it right now for you. Instead of, they were supposed to call me, and
you didn't get that email. I sent it. That's so odd.
So how do you get pissed off at that? When somebody does that, you sit there and say, I'm telling you, people are overly accommodating in that situation. When you sit there, Karen, if you said that to me, I'd be like, hey, Karen, I get it. Because everybody's overloaded. Everybody drops things on the shop floor, right? But to stand up instead of making excuses, oh, it must be stuck in my outbox. It's the biggest lie I ever hear.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Did you check your spam? And then you're scampering to send it.
Right.
See, I don't do that. I don't do that anymore. I don't act like that.
So how does this affect your sobriety? I mean, how does it affect sobriety? Owning your shit, how does it affect sobriety?
I think it goes far beyond that. I think it affects my life.
Right.
It tremendously. So to start with the sobriety part, when I can own what I'm doing, then I can truly recover. That means that I'm able to practice these principles in all my affairs, right? And if honesty is one of the principles of the program I'm in anyway, if honesty is one of the principles, owning it is part of being honest. Because otherwise, I got to lie. I got to say, well, he was supposed to call me, and, if I put it on someone else, I'm not responsible. And if I'm doing that, I'm not being honest with myself. If I'm not honest with me,
that's
there's
awesome.
There's
that's
no
exactly
real.
What I was looking for.
There's no real recovery if I can't be honest.
So are you saying? I'm going to try to recap what you just said. Are you saying by owning your own shit, it fuels better sobriety?
Absolutely, 100%. Not only does it...
That's what I think, too.
It makes me feel better about myself, but
We don't have to lie anymore.
It ensures that I'm in a good headspace and a good spiritual condition to keep working on me. And when I'm working on being a liar and a conniver, that's what I was when I got here.
That's right.
I can't. The same person will drink again. I can't be that liar. A liar. I was a liar. A liar will. Lying Karen drinks. Honest Karen doesn't. So I don't want to go back to being that person. The same person will drink again. The power, though, the power in owning your shit. I love that you called it a superpower. The power in it just fosters better relationships with people. You know, I had a situation with my sister on vacation. She's going through something right now. And everybody is asking, well, how are the girls dealing with this? How's your husband doing with this? How's this? And she said to me, we were in the pool. I took her down to Florida on vacation. And we're in the pool, and she said to me, why is nobody asking how I'm doing? And because she's the one who started the situation, we assume she's fine with it. And in my head, as she's talking about how, you haven't asked, you called to say, hey, what's going on? But you haven't said, how are you? Are you okay? And in my head, while she's talking, I'm planning my answer. Sure. Well, you don't call me very much. And why don't you say what you need? And I can't read your mind. And I'm thinking about how I'm going to make this her fault. And when she stopped talking, because you guys in the program have taught me to pause and pray before I proceed, I stopped for a minute, and I looked at her and I said, so you're right. I haven't done a very good job of being a big sister. You're right. I need to be there for you more. I'm sorry. I'm going to do a better job. I'm going to do better at that. And she said, that's all I need. And she started to cry. And it was a very special moment between sisters, and it made us closer. And then it reminded me, she needs something from me. So a couple days later, I reach out to her. I say, hey, I'm having a couple busy days. I'm not free for a few more days. Just wanted to see how you are today. Do you need anything? She said, oh, my God, your timing is perfect. She said, I've had a couple rough days. It's good to know I'm not alone. And because in that moment, I made the decision to wait. Hold on, this is my fault. I'm the one that made her feel that way. And you know what my least favorite thing in the world that just is when there's conflict with two people and somebody says, I'm sorry you feel that.
Oh, ouch.
Oh, basically that means tough shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I might have done that, but so what? Yeah, so what? Well, what's wrong with you that you're letting that bother you? Instead of, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. Now, does it make sense? Should I have made them feel that way? I mean, should what I have said made them feel like that?
What?
They probably, maybe they internalized it differently.
Sure.
Maybe it wasn't necessarily my fault, but I still.
You own part of it.
If I made you feel that way, then I need to own that.
You own part of it.
I made you feel that way, so I'm sorry I did that.
You own 100% of the part that you played in that.
Absolutely, 100% of my part.
Excellent. Wow, this is good stuff. The one thing that jumped out at me is you said it and Glenn said it. You said the word coach, and it's a topic for another coffee. But you said in your story about the business closing down in 6 days, you said I had a business coach at the time. And that really just resonated with me. People get all weird about, I'm going to have a sponsor in AA. What is that? You had the wherewithal to have a business coach, and you have a wherewithal to have a sponsor in AA. A sponsor is a sobriety coach, and that's, I love that. And then Glenn turned around and said, yeah, I'm working with my kids and I'm coaching them on this. It is so imperative. We don't do this alone. We do this together, and we can do it with good coaching from somebody who's been there before. So again, topic for another coffee. But
yeah, and that program that you referenced, Karen, I think I'm in the same program, the 12 steps, and we have sponsors, right? And my sponsor is my coach.
Well, by the way, we don't have sponsors for the show. We have sponsors.
No, we don't have sponsors for the show.
I would sponsor your show because it's freaking awesome, man.
Well, thank you, Karen.
I'll
Thank you.
sponsor
Well,
your show.
Love having you.
Yeah, love having
on.
you.
Love talking about owning our shit.
Will you come back?
Love that
Yeah,
you
I'll
gave
come
some
back and talk about
examples.
sponsorship. How's that?
I love that.
All right.
Nice.
Let's do that.
All right, man.
You guys have
All
a
right,
great
guys.
day.
All right.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.